if you're a woman of color in this country, especially if you're Black, your odds of dying in childbirth are 3 to 4 times higher on average in our country.
Why? Because you're not talking about access to healthcare. You're not talking about money or education.
No, and this is going to be hard to hear. We believe Black women less when they express concerns about the symptoms they're having, particularly around pain.
Good evening. Welcome back to Beyond Today for Tomorrow. This evening, we're going to get into that discussion. We're going to talk about the healthcare industry and their lack of sympathy for Black women. And I'm going to be joined by Salima Louder, and she's going to tell us her story with her pregnancy journey that she had with her youngest child. And we're going to talk about the fertility of Black women, how it's important, and how we have to battle the discrimination to get the care that we need. So sit back, get your drink together, and let's get into this. Intro, please. Hi, and welcome back. I'm Valerie with Beyond Today for Tomorrow. So just to give you a quick update on my health, it has been going on 2 months since my radioactive iodine. Praise Jesus, I have been feeling so much better. I'm actually getting back in the gym, working out. I'm actually participating in a summer meltdown with my friend, and I'm feeling great with my workouts, even though I'm not seeing the results on the scale, but I'm still hanging in there. I can say that the medication has taken some getting used to. My body's taken a minute to get adjusted to the medication. But with that, I want to tell people, know the medication you're taking and know all of the side effects, because believe it or not, it could be the very side effect that seems minor on the list of side effects that could cause you the most trouble. I know for some people, they're like, the doctors tend to be very dismissive, and you have to stare in their face and you say, hey, look, I know you may not have seen this in the 199 people you've seen, but I'm patient 200, and this is what's going on. You have to make them hear you and pay attention, because you have to realize that when you go into your doctor's office, they've probably seen 30, 40 other patients that day, and they're committing 20 minutes per patient. So they have 10-minute transition. So they could have had bad news in the patient before, and they're still hungover from that. They are human. That's what we need to realize. They are human, and that can lead to a measure of error and mistake. So let's be vigilant about that. I've been hearing a lot of feedback from people dealing with some mental health issues as a result of maybe some side effects of medicines. And I tell you, don't take that seriously, especially in the pandemic that we're dealing with. Mental health has really taken center stage. I applaud the athletes who have taken a stand for their mental health. I've actually just saw an article that said some school districts are going to allow children the opportunity to have 5 mental health days a year, and that's awesome. But don't take for granted the fact that you're holding it together, because there are some people who've been single and lonely through this pandemic, and it is causing them to consider unfortunate thoughts of suicide. So let's check on our loved ones. Let's check on our friends that we know are single, because everyone's not handling this round 2 of the pandemic as well as we would like them to. And let me say this, there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with admitting you have a mental health need. Mental health is just as important as a broken lamb, because if your mind is broken, in essence, every other area of your life will be broken. So I want to say, let's do those mental health check-ins. I know if you go to the doctor, they sometimes even give you a little questionnaire. let's take those questionnaires seriously. Let's fill them out and be transparent. You're so brave when you confront a problem. That makes you a hero in my eyes. I admire people who will take the stand and embrace their struggles versus act as if nothing is wrong, because that gets you and everyone else around you nothing. You gain nothing by ignoring your mental health. So that's enough of that. But I will go back and reiterate and say, let's look at your medications, look at your side effects, because sometimes conditions don't just magically appear in your mind and in your body. Sometimes they're brought on by the foreign object that you're digesting in your body. So, with all of that, I am going to welcome my guest this evening, Salima Louder. I believe she's backstage. And we're going to get into discussing discrimination and Black women's health. Carly, can you bring in Salima? Okay, so maybe we're having some technical difficulties. Okay, well, if not, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Salima and myself, and we'll get into our discussion this evening.
Y'all, it's Michael Sean from Michael Sean and the Takeover Legends. And just in case you missed the show, check this out. Hold up, Claudia, you made that? Or is that an Uber Eats? Or is that
look, like she don't cook? Look at her face. Like
I just wanted to make sure you made that.
Michael Sean and the Takeover Legends, where the truth hurts, but also makes you laugh.
I made breakfast. Look, I hooked it up. I had some home fries.
Oh, damn.
that's real breakfast.
Mushrooms in it and peppers and jalapenos and some bacon. I was like, if I'm going to be up this early, I'm going to make some breakfast. How y'all doing this morning?
Hey.
KJ! They said, you made that? I said, they asked if it was Uber Eats. Can you tell the fellas?
Uber Eats.
Was that Uber Eats, KJ? Keep it real. Keep it 100.
No, that's not Uber Eats. I cooked that.
Michael Sean and the Takeover Legends. Your escape from reality. Right here on Free Agent Radio.
Okay, welcome back. So I think Salima will be joining us soon. Carly, will you put up the clip of the how discrimination can harm Black women's health for me? Oh, hey, Salima.
Hi, Valerie.
How are you doing this evening?
I am good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited that you are feeling better and you're able to be on here tonight, because it seemed like the stars aligned and God's like, look, I need you to discuss this, because I've come across so many articles about how Black women are mistreated or ignored by their doctors, and sometimes given harmful advice to the point that it can lead to death. One of the clips I had earlier this evening, it was saying how the mortality rate for Black women when it comes to childbirth is high compared, well, it says women of color. So I'm going to put it out there, and they're just not saying Black women. But the thing that surprises me, and I think your family, hello, Amber, how are you doing this evening? I think you come from a large family too, right?
I do. My mother had 7 children.
Yeah. So, and my grandmother had 9, right? Oh. And so when I went into childbirth with my son, it was never a thought. I will say this: I didn't think that there was any danger in it. I had a Black OBGYN, and I got great prenatal care. However, as we're going to get into tonight, that's not always an option. And the fewer options we have, it seems like we put our sisters at risk.
Yes.
One of the articles that I had screenshot was saying how discrimination can harm Black women's health. And it goes on to say that the research shows that Jim Crow laws are still being reckoned with the bodies of people who lived through this time. And it's funny because I just didn't realize how an institute, which is the medical industry, that is created to help heal us, can actually kill us just as
Yeah.
fast as a bullet, right?
Ooh.
So, and I remember you were telling me with your second pregnancy, right? With your son, right?
Yes.
Okay. Get into that. Tell me about that.
Okay. So, I found out I was pregnant in January 2018, and I immediately went. I got prenatal care. I found out OBGYN. I'm one of those people who is really hands-on with my own healthcare.
Okay.
So I ask questions. I want to know why. I want to know what's the effects, what's going to happen, what do I do after that, respectfully, because it needs to make sense. You know, it needs to make sense when it comes to our health. Things need to make sense in order for us to actually do them. For me personally, but I started off with one doctor. I also had an African American OBGYN. I had a cesarean delivery with my first child. My children are 11 years apart. So for this second birth, I was like, okay, I want to try to do the natural birth thing. I want to have a vaginal birth. And the doctor I had at that time, when I went to go see her, she said, nope, no way, not going to do it. And I said, okay, well, let me go find another doctor because I need options. You know, some doctors will allow you to try to have your baby naturally, especially with that distance in time, 11 years.
Yes, because your body has healed.
Yes, 11 years is a long time. So
yeah,
I didn't really appreciate that, but I said, okay, that's fine. This just is not the doctor for me. So I went, I found a midwife practice. So it was composed of different OBGYNs, midwives. They were very open to birthing plans and to hear what the patient wanted to do and to support the patient in that process.
Now, let me ask you before you get too far. Now, did you have any medical concerns that gave them pause when you told them you wanted to have your baby natural?
No, actually, this was my first visit with her.
Okay.
So
she didn't know you from jump.
No,
she was just looking at. Okay.
She just knew that I had one before. And I feel like it would have been easier for just say, yeah, we're going to do a C-section. Easier for her. You know, I want to save more money, but you know, you want
to think positive, but like Amber's chiming in online, she's saying she had a doctor turning her away because she refused shots. You know what? Here's the thing, you know, and especially in light of the Black Lives Matter movement. In 2017, when I found out I had humongous fibroids, I'm talking about, it looked like I was 6 months pregnant. And I kept going to my doctor. I was like, there is no way in hell you're telling me I'm eating right, working out, paying for personal training, and my stomach's not getting smaller. She's like, oh, some women, they just lose weight differently. I'm like, bullshit. Because even though my mother is plus size, my mother has always had a flat stomach, you know? So I'm like, that's not really hereditary in my family. And fast forward, I found a Black doctor. She went to LSU. So I was looking at her credentials. And when I say I walked in and it felt like not only was I already kind of emotionally drained, I felt like I got hit with a Mack truck because she was like, oh, we're just going to do a hysterectomy and that'll be the deal. I was like, no, we're not going to do that. No, first of all, I'm just finding out that I even have fibroids. I'm just finding out that this is what's even going on with me. So you're not going to throw me like that. And it's so unfortunate that we want to support our community, but sometimes our community treats us worse than an outsider.
You know what? I personally think that it is all systematic. So if you're a part of something, an organization, you take an oath to something, usually you have to adhere to that. I want to say, I don't want to call it a mindset, but whatever those codes or whatever it is, that are held in place kind of like as gatekeepers, you know, play your position, you know. I definitely picked that up.
And you know, the things that is very interesting. Carly, can you pull up that screen? So, of course, oh wow, Amber is sharing with us that all of her births have been high risk and fibroids run in her family. No, not that one, the next one, the one with the blue. So one of the hot topics, of course, I'm sure you guys have seen it all over social media, is they are talking about the Texas abortion law, right? And the fear of the abortion law is that it's going to hurt disproportionately women of color, right? So how we're talking about trying to avoid racist health care, Black women seek out Black obstetricians. That's not always the best. I follow this one young lady on Instagram, and she does this skit every Friday, but she's very factual, very knowledgeable. And when I saw this article, it made me think of her parking lot chat. Real quick, Carly, play Pink One, because I want you guys to just hear, when we think about this and we try to go find Black doctors, Black obstetricians who are supposed to be there for one another, you will find that the individuals that really do care, they probably don't have the technology and some of the advancements they need, because they are really in it for this genuine service. They took that same Hippocratic oath you were just talking about, Salima, because I remember growing up, there used to be in Fort Worth, there used to be this Black doctor, and everyone was like, oh, Dr. Brooks, Dr. Brooks. But because so many people trusted him, there was always a long wait. And then with my doctor, my OBGYN, the one, she delivered Kylan. 20 some years ago, she delivered Kylan. And when I told her back in 2017, she says, you know what? We're not going to even talk about a hysterectomy. She says, I'm going to send you to a specialist. And if he says that he can repair your uterus, we're going to do that. She was like, because that's a shock. And she was like, and you never know, you could want to have a kid later in life. Right. So I go to this guy, he looked at it, and Dr. Robert Kaufman, I love him. I mean, he was, and I always tell everybody this, you need a doctor that has a confidence and a little bit of cockiness, because those are going to be the ones that are going to tell you, this is what they tell me my rules are, but I'm going to tell you, you know. And I believe you have to be a person of faith too, because you have to get checked in, because like I told you guys, when I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, that's a fight that you're not even prepared for. And and when he did that, and he said he could fix it, I went home doubting him because I had ran into the negative Nancy before. And I'm like, oh my God, just think how many other women have been put in situations like myself.
Yes.
Carly, I want to show you ladies this clips. Carly, are you able to get the clips going? Pink, you can actually just play them back to back. Pink 1, 2, and 3. They're real short.
As well as mother deaths during birth. And of course, Black women and women of color suffer the most from it. And those death rates are coming from a lack of care in the delivery room and a lack of prenatal care that is accessible to them. And heavy on the accessible. Because y'all like to act like Black and brown mothers are irresponsibly promiscuous sex bots who don't care about their baby.
You see that? I love her because she addresses the stigmatisms that we face. And I believe you were telling me when you had your son that a doctor tried to prescribe, when you were pregnant, they were trying to prescribe you a medicine that wouldn't work for you.
They did. And, you know, probably around, I want to say around 24 to 28 weeks, they make you do the glucose test to see if you're diabetic. I took one and I failed it.
Okay.
I took a second one, I failed it. And then they said, okay, come in and do the initial ones I was doing was an hour. I did 2 1-hour tests. I was given some wrong information about fasting. I was told I could eat. And when I came back, you know, I failed both tests. Nonetheless, I failed the test. Fasting, not fasting. So they said, come back in. We're going to do a 3-hour test. So that means they took my blood glucose level at a fasting rate. Okay. And then they gave me glucose, and they drew my blood every hour for 3 hours to see how my body was tolerating the glucose. My ranges were a little out of the normal range, but with my ranges being out for that 3-hour test, they said that I had gestational diabetes. They sent me to an I don't pronounce it right.
Endocrinologist.
And I actually was at one of the top hospitals in Chicago.
Okay.
And I went to go see a doctor. And this doctor was interesting. And I noticed when I came in, she didn't read my chart. She didn't know anything about me. I actually was the one giving her like my levels that I got from the doctor. So she said, okay. She said, well, I'm going to give you a pill. You're going to take this pill because I don't want you to have a big baby. And I'm like, at that point, I was 33 weeks pregnant. 33 weeks. So I had 7 more weeks to carry my baby. My child was, you know, as far as I knew, healthy. So I was uncomfortable with taking anything. So I went to go see a nutritionist at the same hospital, and I expressed to her, I said, I thought the doctor was going to talk to me about my diet and how I could modify things before giving me medication to put into my body at 33 weeks of pregnancy. So the nutritionist agreed. She said, yeah. She said, I don't know. So what I ended up doing, I modified my diet. I stopped eating as much fruit, and I got a, what are those called? I started taking my blood sugar every time after I ate. I would take my blood sugar. So I knew where my levels were. I did that for the remainder of my pregnancy, cut out fruits, sweets and things like that. And I also ended up seeing a natural Chinese medicine doctor.
Okay.
I went in to see her immediately after I left the hospital. She said, don't take medication. She said, I can't even give you herbs to take. So don't take medication and give your baby medication right now. So for the
go ahead, because you know, I'm gonna.
So for the remainder of my pregnancy, I monitored my fruit intake. I took my blood sugar, and I delivered a healthy baby. My baby was not diabetic, neither was I. But what they found out is that he was a lot bigger than they thought. My son was 9 pounds, 11 ounces.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They thought he was 8 pounds. And I'm a small frame woman.
You are.
The test, who knows how my body was handling it, but I wasn't diabetic. But scientifically, by the, you know, the levels, I had, they call it gestational diabetes, but we were all healthy.
Let me tell you something. The Chinese naturalist, she was saving your life and your son's life. And I'm going to tell you why. So during my undergrad, and I think we had similar undergrad paths. I was psychology, but I think I minored in business, but you were sociology or? Okay. So one of the classes I took was abnormal psych. And I tell people all the time. So when my son was younger and they were trying to put him on medication, it took a minute for me to adjust to that. Because one of the things that we learned in I think it was childhood development or in abnormal psych, they were like, when you put your children on medication, you don't know how that medication is going to affect their development.
Brain.
And even with Black women being pregnant, because the only thing, that's why when they told me when Kylan was 8 years old, oh, he has epilepsy, oh, and autistic. I said, hold up. I had prenatal care. I said, tell me what happened from the time that I had this prenatal care to now that I would buy quality food. I would make sure I watched what he ate. And so tell me how this was introduced. And the fact that your children are still developing, even after you have them, they're still developing. That's why now you'll see celebrities put that head shaping tool on their babies, because you should have shaped your head. That was something my grandmother used to say all the time. My mom's mom. You have to pay attention to what your children are exposed to environmentally, as
Yes.
well as through the food that they're eating and the food that you're eating, especially if you're nursing. Because I think I even had a coworker that had a similar situation. She didn't take medication, but they gave her a nutritionist to work with
Mm-hmm.
and told her to monitor her sugar, her glucose levels. After she had her baby, they tested her again and it went away.
Yep.
And she was Indian. So the thing that I realize is that it doesn't matter if it's us, Black women, you can be any minority. And if you don't take up for yourself and your children's health, you are going to be one of many numbers. You're just going to be a statistic added to the count. And it doesn't matter your education. It doesn't matter it really does matter your social economic status, because even if you, I tell you now, and I hate the marketing tools that we have where everywhere you go, they either want your zip code or want you to sign up for a letter. So they can rank and file you based on, your shopping habits and all of this. And then that will determine what the level of care you receive. That shouldn't be. You should look at a person from where they are at that moment. And like you said, the doctor came in, didn't look at your chart, didn't tell you, okay, these are the options. Her first conversation with you is not, let me do blood work, but let me give you a medication. You don't want a medication. If it's not a natural medication, I'm going to tell you, you are being introduced to so many chemicals that can be harmful. Amber's saying that her baby was 11 pounds and they kept testing her for diabetes as well. So we have to realize that as modern medicine changes, so does the food industry. And the only thing that I can tell people, and there's something that me and one of my coaches were talking about, sometimes it can be environmental factors that we introduce our bodies to. Right now, most people drink water from plastic bottles. That plastic may not, BPH certified?
Mm-hmm.
They can tell us that they're doing this, but then we find out years later from the wacky commercials that, were you exposed to this toxin? And medicines, like I'm finding out with my thyroid medicine, so I'm taking Terosint, and I read the patient feedback, because my first thought is, if I'm going through this, I know somebody else is going through this. So let me see what their feedback, and then found out that the manufacturers change. So you could have introduced a pill to your baby that could have messed up his neurodevelopment, could have messed up his cardiovascular system. You never know with this medicine, because sometimes if you read those boring pamphlets, you'll find out that this medicine, they have no idea how it's going to affect a pregnant woman or the baby.
Yeah. It was a really easy, hard no for me.
Okay.
I didn't like receiving the information, but absolutely not. And I was planning to breastfeed. So I'm like, okay, so how will this affect him now? How will it affect him once he's here? And how will it affect me when I am breastfeeding him? So it was just, there was no clear information. And I said, no, it's, and everything worked out. But I always often think about a young lady that may not be as aware as her health, and trusting of information because she's unaware, and how that could impact,
absolutely,
in a negative way. And then no one's liable. No one knows what happens.
Absolutely.
So,
because you can report a doctor to these medical boards, and unless, I'm going to tell you, and I hate to make this comment, but until a well-known white person is involved in a situation like this, that's when the medical boards would start talking. it was funny. I saw a joke online with Instagram, and they were saying that if a white male had to have an abortion, you could guarantee the laws would be different.
Lord have mercy.
And that's sad, but you're right, because if you're going to nurse your child, they're going to get the nutrients that you receive. And are you a vegan?
I am not vegan.
But I've
I
always known you to eat pretty healthy.
What'd you say?
I've always known you to eat pretty healthy, though.
So as of the past year, I don't eat meat.
Okay.
I do a little bit of fish.
Okay.
But overall, no meat.
Okay. And during your pregnancy?
During my pregnancy, I actually couldn't eat meat. So it was all like vegetables and fish and fruits and yogurts and granolas.
So do you think maybe you missed a nutrient that maybe?
I think that, I don't know. I personally think the glucose test is not reliable for everyone's body. It's a lot of sugar. It's just a whole lot of sugar. And my body didn't tolerate it well. My baby didn't tolerate it well. And I had this issue with my first child.
Oh, did
I
you?
tested twice. I passed the second time, but something about the glucose that was like, no, not feeling it. But I don't have any pre-existing, and overall I do eat healthy, and I've always eaten pretty healthy, as long as I've been aware of, eating healthy. So yeah.
And so now, so you ran into the gestational diabetes. So what happened from 37 or 33 weeks to delivery?
So I actually the Chinese doctor just she wrote out what to eat, what not to eat. She said, eat this amount of this, don't eat this, don't eat that, don't eat that. So I just followed it, and I took my sugar levels after a meal.
Okay.
And what I noticed is that as I cut out, I was eating a lot of fruit.
Okay.
As I cut it out, that after eating, it was normal. Up to delivery, after he was born, they pricked him, tested his blood, he was fine. So I honestly, this is all faith for me. It really came down to my faith, and I had to choose in that moment when I got the information. I had to choose: am I going to be scared right now? I'm pregnant. I'm 33 weeks pregnant. Me being scared with him in my stomach is not helpful for either one of us. So I had to choose: am I going to be scared, or am I going to walk in faith, knowing that my baby is healthy? I'm doing the things I need to do nutritionally. So I went with that, and I stayed on that path. I know for sure I overcame some things in that process of saying, you know what, I'm going to trust faith. My baby is going to be healthy. And he was.
Wow. So Amber is saying her last pregnancy, she was completely vegan. And she said that was one of her best pregnancies.
Oh, wow.
Produced so much milk. Amber, if you don't mind me asking, how many children do you have? And see, that's good. Like I said a few weeks ago on here, when you eat quality food and when we pay attention to what we're eating and what we're putting in our bodies, that counteracts some of the negative issues that we have. It's funny, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and she was like, Valerie, I just don't believe how many people that, you could look at them on the outside and they look healthy and normal, but inside they have, diabetes or high blood pressure. And like, she's from Antigua, and she said that the funny thing, high blood pressure doesn't run in her family. And she's maybe 30, very small framed. So you wouldn't think that someone is that looks fit on the outside that would have that issue. But I'm finding, I wonder how much of some of our newly discovered health challenges are from the environment, and the things that we allow ourselves to be exposed to.
Yeah, I have a personal belief. I believe that everything's connected.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
everything is connected, and if you look at one piece and it's broken, it's connected to other things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the pieces is something wrong with all the pieces that are connected, functioning as a system and as a
Yes.
structure. It's broken. It's not working for us.
Yes.
So when we know that, when we're aware of it, there are things that we can do to make sure that we're good, or try
You're right.
to move toward healthy living, healthy lifestyle, preserving our bodies. We want to be
Uh-huh.
here. We want to, serve our purpose. We have family, we have children. So there are things that we can do, and it's really not that hard. We can eat healthy food that tastes delicious. I mean,
Yeah.
like,
But it's funny you said you cut out fruit. So what are some of the fruit that you were basically that you had to get rid of?
you know what? I watermelon.
Okay.
I mean, during my pregnancy, I usually love watermelon. So I was eating a lot of watermelon, strawberries,
Okay.
cantaloupe,
Okay.
anything. I was eating everything, but probably more than a portion that I needed to. And I can't say that it was related to the fruit. I want to say it was more so the glucose. The glucose test my body did not tolerate well, but I still cut back on fruit anyway. Like, I'll cut back on it.
Okay.
So, and then
But
also,
maybe the small sugars that are in the fruit were enough to impact your glucose.
mhm.
I know, like, as someone that has dealt with PCOS, and I know that if I can eat at home more, cook more, and I eat, and it's always difficult because it's just me and my son here. So I'm like, I don't want to waste food. I don't want to be someone that wastes food. So I try to cook within portion control. And it's almost like you can't eat um certain fruits at certain times. So I'm more citrus. I
Okay.
love more citrus fruit. I've recently got on this mango kick. And I stopped by Aldi's. Believe it or not, Aldi's has really great fruit. I don't know
Oh,
if
I
you
shop at Aldi's. I shop at
okay, because
Aldi's.
up here some people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to go. I'm like, no, Aldi's has really good fruit. And I stopped by there, and I know, like, one thing with my son too, especially with his seizures, I've always tried to keep like fresh fruit.
Mhm.
And he'll eat berries, of an assortment of berries, and he will eat fruit. And I can say that, and this is when this as a mother, when you put healthy options in front of your kids and they see that you're eating those, they'll eat them too. And they'll look for some healthier options. And wow, congratulations. Amber did come back and answer. She has 4 kids. So you have to pay attention to what you're putting in, because we don't know how that breaks down. And it's interesting that more people should meet up with a nutritionist or a dietitian at some point,
Mhm.
because they can help us navigate this food system.
Yeah.
And I really think that's important. I haven't dug into so much the various environmental effects, but I do know we all are getting something, because I know where I'm living now, Texas is experiencing such hyper growth, and the growth, and most people moved out to the rural areas to kind of get away from pollution. Well, guess what? The rural areas have become overcrowded now.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's really different. So, and the food source, and so I'm very conscious now, because if companies were discussing a food shortage a while back, it makes me wonder, because I had a friend, and my cousin just delivered not too long ago. And I know that I haven't heard, did she have any challenges with her pregnancy? But my other friend, I know that she was pretty healthy. She tended to eat more keto style,
Okay.
and she delivered natural.
Okay.
So were you able to deliver natural eventually?
I was not. He actually was just too big.
Okay.
He was too big. It wasn't gonna happen
Okay.
either way because of his size. Nope.
Okay. So they were like, that's not going to even be okay.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so but you were prepared for that. You learned in
Yeah.
enough time.
Yes,
Okay, okay. And then but you were able to nurse?
I was. I was.
Okay.
I did.
Okay, and did you have good milk supply and
We didn't have any issues.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we didn't have any issues at all.
And you didn't take any of the so you do your prenatal vitamin though?
Hmm. I
Okay.
did prenatal. Yep.
Okay. And were there any other supplements or anything that you took?
Um, during pregnancy, after I delivered,
Um During pregnancy and afterwards.
I just did the prenatal, and I
Okay.
think, was there anything else I had? No, it was just a prenatal vitamin.
Okay.
Afterwards, I kept taking the prenatal, and green leafy stuff, oatmeal.
Okay.
Um, what else? Beans, rice, that
Okay.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
And that pretty much helped you turn it around.
Hmm.
So, if you had to tell a young sister that was watching, what would you tell them? How would you tell them would be their first step to start knowing their bodies, to take care of their bodies?
I would say, let's see, the first step, ooh, for a young lady, this is what I'm going to tell myself.
Mhm.
As I was a young lady, is our bodies are our temples. You
Mhm.
know, what we put in does affect us pretty much
Mhm.
on every level. Um, Take time to read and educate yourself on things
Mhm.
that are important to you and related to your health. And always ask questions.
Mhm.
No question is a dumb question when it's related to your health, the
Exactly.
health of your children, the health of your family members, and don't be intimidated by someone because they have a title.
Exactly.
It's because someone has a title does not necessarily mean they know your body. It
Uh-huh.
doesn't mean they know what's best for you or what's going to work
Exactly.
for you. So if something doesn't feel right with the doctor, if you feel forced or you feel uncomfortable about information, you have the option to go see someone else, and also um, do some research. Find some
Mhm.
reliable research. Everything on Google is not accurate. But
Exactly.
there are information sources in the libraries, and there are some information sources on the internet that are helpful, that are holistic, that are alternative to some of the Western practices, or Western medicine, should I say. But there's no stupid question
Exactly.
at all. Ask. I mean, I've had instances where doctors were angry at me and I didn't care because you're not answering my question. And if you can't answer
Mhm.
my question, I can't listen to you.
Exactly.
So,
And I would like to add that, and you said something that I wanted to, if I had a bell, I would have rung it ding ding ding. Don't be impressed by titles or have that white coat syndrome where you're so that you're automatically trusting that doctor. If in any relationship, trust is earned. And
yes.
we need to have that same principle when it comes to taking care of our bodies.
Mhm.
And like you said, ask questions to the point that they're uncomfortable. Like the other day, I told my doctor, I said, I know I'm a bit of a medical mystery. I said, but I have to do what's best for me.
Yes.
I could hear the frustration in her voice, and that's fine. Because guess what? You've probably sailed along through your career and you probably prescribed what was normal for one group of people, but it may not work. And that's why I do read patient feedback.
Hmm.
I do want, and I put that specifically in my search engine. I want to know what another patient has felt from taking XYZ. The one thing that, my doctor in one hand told me armor thyroid isn't good for your body long term, but the T3 that they are giving me to go with the Terracin is a derivative of pork. I'm like, if armor is not good because it has the pork, why is this one acceptable? You know?
Yeah.
So we have to start standing up and taking care of ourselves because I believe Malcolm X said it best. The Black woman is one of the most unprotected species in America. I don't mean to make it racial. However, it's a reality. I'm a Black woman and I have to speak from my experiences. My friends, my loved ones, they are Black women as well. And they've told me their experiences. And they're like, girl, you're not crazy. When they've gone through XYZ. I had a cousin ran track at Southern in Louisiana, always very thin, very petite, had endometriosis because she developed this pregnancy belly and they were acting like it was no big deal. And I hear more Black women walking around with these disformed bodies because it's all about damaging our uterus, because it damages our womb. You have to fight back. And I tell anyone, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
So yes, I'm going to keep hosting my lives. I'm going to keep bringing education to people, and I'm going to keep inviting people to share their stories because these stories are relevant. Because guess what? We're raising our sons and daughters and they're watching us.
Yes.
They're watching what we don't do and what we do. You can tell them, do what I say and not what I do, but they're going to ultimately watch you. And you have a daughter. So I'm sure this journey has helped you prepare how to tell her approach to birth control, her approach to just her development and everything. It should be different. I feel like the more knowledge we have to start shifting the tides with our future generations.
Yeah, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to share the information that we have.
Absolutely.
It's a duty. I definitely feel the same way.
So did you end up going, now you said you had the cesarean for your delivery, but did you end up having to find a new doctor to care for you, or how did that work? Because I know you said you've had a midwife.
So it was a midwife practice, so they had a few different doctors there, but I stayed with the same practice. Afterwards, they were open. They were very open to my thoughts and my questions and the things that I didn't want to do. Well, they were like, okay, that's fine. And that is the flexibility I need, because ultimately my insurance is paying for this. I'm not here for I'm not here to make you feel good. Like, I'm here to make sure I'm good. This is my health.
Let me tell you, that's one thing I've noticed, especially during this, my insurance, because before they even talk to you, they're looking and seeing who your insurance is, right? Okay, so my insurance is paying for you. So guess what? While you're here, however long I'm here, you are going to listen to me, and I matter. I'm valuable. And the thing that I started doing, call your insurance carrier when you encounter a doctor that's an ass. Let them know. Because believe it or not, I'm sure you're not the only person that has encountered the craziness that can happen at a doctor's office. And sometimes, because that specialist that removed my fibroids, he was a great doctor that had a horrible support staff, that he would give them directives and they couldn't even follow through. So, I mean, we have to keep the issue, we have to keep approaching and addressing the issue head on, because if we don't, we'll keep falling through the cracks.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And really taking responsibility of knowing how we're feeling in our bodies,
Exactly.
Because if we don't know, a doctor's not gonna be able to tell us what's happening.
Exactly. And if you have a doctor that wants to do everything, run. There are doctors with specialties for a reason. That means they went to extra classes to specialize in a specific subject matter. Do not think one-stop shop. You can't Walmart, Costco, your doctor, your help. I'm sorry.
No, ma'am.
You have to inconvenience yourself. And it was so funny because one of the articles that I found, and what that young lady and Lindsay discussed, she was like, there are so many Black women sometimes don't go to doctor's visits because they're afraid to miss work. Or they are afraid to tell their supervisor, hey, I need to leave for a little bit. And first of all, let me tell you, we live in America and healthcare should not be an option. It should be mandatory.
Absolutely.
And I know that it's hard sometimes because people don't care, but there are agencies that can help you with employers like that. That's a conversation for another show, but
Yeah. You know, I can't help but to sit and think as we're talking about this, how deeply rooted this actually is.
it is.
Because
It has many roots.
We're scratching the surface now. Of course, we know a lot of things go back to, our diet, what we eat, but there's more layers than just that, So if we can be open to new information,
Absolutely.
then I think that that's a great start. Is just being open to new information, especially if it's coming from someone that that is not traditional. Right now what we need is alternative. Right now what we need is holistic. We've been doing traditional for the past 3-4 generations, and we still have diabetes. We still have high blood pressure. We still have heart disease. We are, cancer.
Because the medical and pharmaceutical industry will never seek a cure. They want to seek how to manage, because there's more profit. We have to remember America is in a capitalistic society. So there's more profit in managing your sickness than helping you eradicate your sickness.
Correct. Unfortunately, as sad as it is to say that, it's true.
It's absolutely 100% true.
We know that because in the past year, we've seen, so they're reporting that majority of the people being affected are African Americans with pre-existing health conditions. And these are the conditions that we've been dealing with modern medicine, with traditional medicine, that is not getting better. And now we see our immune systems are not strong enough to weather this virus.
But you know what the interesting thing is, but our immune systems historically were.
Yes.
We were healthier. We were able to combat some of the things, but we've had some intervention, so to say, because it's funny you should say that. I had so you guys know when I say I have a cousin, my mother had 8 siblings. So I have a lot of cousins and so on. But one of my cousin's children all of a sudden ended up with type 1 diabetes.
Oh, wow.
That has traditionally been a disease seen in the white community and not in the Black community. But here's this young man that has it. So you have to wonder what else are we being exposed to that is predisposing us to some of these new conditions?
Yeah. Listen, anything.
I'm going to say this and I'm going to wrap this up because I know we're getting, but I watched a documentary and I told you guys I was kind of nerdy, but I watched a documentary on Michael Moore did it. It was on the Fergus. What was the place that had the real bad water?
Flint. It's still not clean.
Oh, absolutely. It's not. But there was a documentary that Michael Moore did, and there were 2 documentaries done by it. And he and the citizens started breaking down how the plants that were moved into those communities, how they were dumping their waste into the water supply. And you were like, oh my God, you think about it. This water is the water you shower with. You may not drink it, but your body is thank you, Amber. Your participation has been awesome tonight.
Thank you,
but
Amber.
Our kids are seeing that. You can't boil chemically enhanced water and think it's going to be great to use. Yeah. I remember when my neighbors, and I thank God for my neighbors, I have some retirees in my subdivision. So they would have those little chemical readings for the water. And they would say, they would put a blast on the Nextdoor app. They were like, hey, check your water levels, make sure you're filtering your water, because you never know what's being pumped. And the water is something all of us need to live.
Yep.
And so, like you said, we're just scratching the surface on some of the conversations that need to be had. But the reality is, it's like men, like our fathers' generations who went over to Vietnam and came back and were dealing with Agent Orange. It's so many people that have been exposed and predisposed to things that we are not really understanding the ramifications until years later.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So, it's interesting because the vaccine conversation is happening. And when I look at, now I will say this, I participated in one of the research trials for this purpose and this purpose only, because I get very frustrated when they say, oh, Black people, this wasn't designed for Black people because we can't get qualified, educated Black participants. I am going to call bullshit on that right now. If that offends you, sorry. Because I know for a fact there are multiple degreed people that were willing to participate to find out, was it going to be another, what was the one with the syphilis, another Tuskegee experiment that was allowed to go on for so long. See, in this day and age of transparency, when we look at the products that are being released to market, they don't care if it benefits us or not. There's a new form of medicine that they say is called it's something with the pharmacy, where they should be able to take your blood work, look at your blood type, and tell you what medications that will successfully work for you. How many doctors are really talking about that?
I haven't heard of that.
How many people are really discussing that? Because that would help people stop the trial and error and take a medication that could be deadly. Because, I had a medical professional tell me the other day, people are vaccinated, but that's not controlling the spread. So what does that tell us, America, that here we were the country that really touted coming out with the vaccine, and other countries did not have our level of vaccination, but they've already eradicated it and got it under control, but we don't.
That's really something to think about. It's really something to think about. And moving forward after this year, definitely what we put in our bodies, juicing, smoothies, exercise, sunlight, water, all of those things are extremely vital. Supplements, you know what supplements, vitamin C, D, zinc.
Yes.
Because our immune systems right now, we really need to fortify them.
And we need to really help protect our bodies against the subconscious stress. Believe it or not, I believe when this is over, we're all going to need some type of PTSD therapy, because this was a traumatic event that no one thought about. That you could talk to your loved one today and find out they went to the store and they caught COVID and they're gone.
It's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot, and it feels like there is nothing that's constant with this COVID. Nothing has been constant and consistent. And to me, when something's not constant and consistent, it tells me something's not true. Something somewhere is not true, because when something is true, you're going to have certain things in place that you can kind of follow and adhere to and get something somewhere solid in a different space. But when things are all over like this and here and there and there,
Because at first it wasn't supposed to affect children. Now the babies are overflooding the ICUs. And so it really wasn't a push to find out vaccination for children under 12 because it really wasn't affecting them. And now, as any parent can attest, have you ever caught a cold from your little one?
Mm-hmm.
It's worse on you than it is when the baby has it. So we're just basically trading germs back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one wants to talk about that. But like you said, everything has been inconsistent.
It's not
because one moment the data says this, the next minute the data says that. And every time we hear something, the news is changing.
Yeah. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Put the mask back on. That makes me personally, it makes me uncomfortable because
Absolutely.
how can I trust anything if everything is changing? Our health,
absolutely.
But our bodies, though, if the medical community understands the way our bodies work, we would hear more talk about diet, exercise, and nutritional supplements. I'm not hearing anything about changing some of your lifestyle habits in order to strengthen your immune system. I'm just hearing, get vaccinated. So after you get vaccinated, what do you do to maintain?
You still have that period that you're still susceptible.
Yeah.
So there should have been conversation. Like I have friends that have did immune building teas. They have done, like for us, our cocktail has been vitamin C, zinc, and every now and again I'll add some airborne to that because it has extra immune boosters. And elderberry, we did the elderberry gummies every now and again. And Kylan works at Lowe's, so he was interacting with people and he wears his mask, and knock on wood, by faith, he's been healthy. He was vaccinated, but like they're saying this third booster, they don't really know about this. And then Pfizer, they're really not talking about the inflammation to the heart that it can cause. And so for my research company, they're saying those boosters are not really approved. They're just giving you a third dose of what was already out on the market. So they don't really know how that's going to affect your body.
So we're experiments then.
All. And, and they're saying, well, the FDA FDA wants more documentation by the 20th. No, before you let the public go sign up and get these third shots, explain to them that it's not a different formula, that it's something what you already got. So my question is, what if individuals who had pretty bad reactions to that second one go get a third dose of that shot again? What is it going to do to their immune system?
Ooh, we have to take control. We got to grab the wheel.
We do. And we have to educate ourselves with knowledge. Don't, like a few weeks ago, Busta Rhymes was like, fuck masks. Really? If that's your line of defense. And I love Busta Rhymes. I do. But I'm like, really? Really? Because I buy them. I have the KN90 and I have the triple layer cloth ones. So I buy them and I make sure when my son goes to class, I'm like, take your gloves. Take your mask. And we just have to be more proactive about it. Oh, well, Salima, I thank you for coming back on. I always enjoy our conversations.
Thank you.
Tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay. So my website is www.reikireset.org. That's REIKIRESET. My Instagram is reiki.reset. And that's it.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. Guys, I will be updating the blog for Beyond Today for tomorrow, and I'll put links to the articles that I referenced and some of the clips so you can go and read the articles for yourself. Don't just take my word for it. I'm going to put some articles on there, and I really want you to read those articles and come back and tell me what you think. Thank you for participating tonight. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Bye, Salima.
Bye.